Welcome everyone, my name's Sylph and this is my attempt to beat a hardcore Nuzlocke of Pokemon HeartGold with only Fire-type Pokemon. The full rule set for this run is listed down below, but put simply, only the first Fire-type encounter in each route or area can be caught. If a Pokemon faints, it must be permanently boxed. No items except held items in battle. Party Pokemon levels are limited to the next gym leader or Elite Four's ace, and finally, the battle mode must be put on set at all times. The Fire-type is always an interesting one in Pokemon playthroughs, perhaps made most infamous by Diamond and Pearl, which gave you access to just 2 of them. In contrast, HeartGold and Soul Silver seem to have a plethora of fire types, but in a sense this is a bit of an illusion. First, since our rules don't allow legendaries, that means Entei, Ho-Oh, and Moltres will be unobtainable. Next, Houndour and Torkoal are only available in the Safari Zone, which is accessible around the 6th badge. However, they only appear once you have the National Dex, unfortunately. Finally, Charizard is of course only available in the Kanto postgame. Interestingly, Slugma and Ponyta are technically only available in Kanto as well, but I have some plans for those two which you'll see soon. With our lowest number of encounters of any challenge, and with a type that takes a long time to evolve and develop into good Pokemon, I have a feeling this might be crazy. Let's do it. In recent challenges, we've been on a roll with starters we can actually use, and this one's great because we can use it right away, Cyndaquil. I decide to name it Quillin, and this is definitely one of my more obscure nickname references, so if anybody gets this, I'll be impressed. Let's check his nature, shall we? Oh, son of a... An impish nature, plus defense and minus special attack. This is the kind of thing that can make a grown man cry. Well, at least in our rival battle, we are shown the ultimate power of plus defense as we're able to essentially stall out his Totodile. Nothing like using a Cyndaquil as a physical wall, I'll tell you. On our way to Violet City, I talked to Quillin for the first time, and it turns out he was actually holding something, and I got all excited thinking it might be a cool item, but then he wouldn't let it go. Come here, you son of a p***! We arrive in Violet City, the location of our first gym battle. But before that, we actually have a new encounter here. Now, I know what you're thinking. What are you talking about, Sylph? What, are you gonna go catch a Bellsprout in the Sprout Tower? No, silly, there aren't even any Bellsprout in Sprout Tower. Instead, our encounter comes in the Pokemon Center. No, I'm serious. In here, there's a man named Primo, and he is one weird dude. He asks you what you think of him, and depending on your answer, you might get a prize. The correct answer is based on your trainer ID, which you can plug into an online, what would you call this, Primo calculator to get. Ours was Pocket Money Conversation Sandstream Who? Which is just as nonsensical as I'd expect, and gets us a Pokemon egg. After running around like a crazy person for 15 minutes, it hatches and gives us none other than a glorious Slugma, which aside from this is only available in the postgame. Amazing. I decide to name it Gary, and Gary has a naughty nature plus attack and minus special defense. It's more of a special attacker, and it needs all the special defense that it can get due to its 4x water weakness, but it's definitely better than nothing. Since Gary hatched at level 1, a lot of switch training is required, but luckily on Route 32 south of Violet there are Mareep in the grass which gives special attack EVs to both our Pokemon, which are otherwise quite difficult to get. Unknowns could be an option too in the Ruins of Alph, but they're weird and also give attack EVs, so not ideal. After a while, Gary gets to level 8 and learns Ember, which I'm thinking will be sufficient for the Sprout Tower. Now, although there are no wild Bellsprout in there, all the trainers have an insane amount of them, and Gary is able to tear through the entire place incredibly well. The Elder himself has a threat in the form of Hoot Hoot, but it misses 2 Hypnosises in a row so we can take it down. And the Bellsprouts are of course no match for our sentient pool of lava. After a bit more grinding in preparation for the gym, Gary learns Rock Throw, which is a fantastic move for our gym challenge, and I'm thankful it learned it before the cap. It's time for the Flying type Violet City Gym. Gary ends up handling the trainers quite well, as Rock Throw is a one-hit KO on most of their Pokemon, and even if they do hit us, they have a chance of being burned and lowering their own attack due to his Flame Body ability. The only problem is Rock Throw is only 90% accuracy, so it did miss a few times. Gym Leader Faulkner himself can be a big threat, and looking at our team, I'm a little bit worried. As I said, our best move, Rock Throw, is low accuracy, and his first Pidgey has Sand Attack too, which could set us up really poorly for his Pidgeotto. Thankfully, his Pidgey just goes for Tackle instead, and Rock Throw ends up one-hit KOing him. Alrighty then. In comes Pidgeotto, which hits us with a Gust for a decent chunk, then our Rock Throw does slightly less than half on it. Since I don't want to activate his potion if he does have one, I decide to Ember here instead after he gets us to 11 HP, and we get the burn. Oh man. He's super low in the red, but we could get KO'd from this range, so I switch into Quillin, and the burn finishes him off. Solid. There are ways that could have been made much worse, but we pulled through for the win. Immediately after the battle, having reached level 14, Quillin evolves into Quilava. A great reward. Along the way to Union Cave, we obtain Rock Smash and are able to use it to get the Shell Bell item, which is always helpful, especially early game. Union Cave itself is a massive challenge for our team as there are a ton of rock and ground types along with Slowpoke, and we just got out of a fishing route too, which was quite difficult. Thankfully, we can avoid most trainers here though, both since they might have killed us and could put us above the next level cap, and we make it out safely. Upon reaching Azalea Town, we're tasked with clearing out the Slowpoke cave, and when we enter, we meet Kurt, who's all like,
"I broke my back."
What do you mean by that?
My back is broken.
What, a vertebrae or what portion?
Spinal.
Thankfully, the Rocket Grunts and Proton aren't too much of an issue since Zubats and Koffings can only do neutral damage on us. Oh, so suddenly when I finish taking care of a whole gang of Rocket members, your broken back mysteriously heals. Interesting. We save Kurt and him and his granddaughter are all happy again, but then I approach him and he's like, "I'm working! Don't bother me!" Oh, Jesus, okay. It's time for our second gym, the Bug-type Azalea Gym. I'm strolling in here all confident like, pfft, a Bug-type gym against a Fire-type team? We've got no chance. And at least among the trainers, I was right, although we really had to watch the level cap of level 17. After a Beedrill gave us a ton of XP and Gary is already at high level 17 and Quillen's at high 16, we then have to do a mandatory double battle. We could skip them by only using one Pokemon, but the way that the gym is set up, we'd have to then battle Bugsy with only Quillen. So I take them on, and thankfully we don't overlevel on either Pokemon. It's time for our second gym leader. Bugsy leads with a beastly level 17 Scyther, so I lead with Gary since we have 4 times super effective Rock Throw. He goes for Focus Energy right away, then we hit her with Rock Throw for about 2/3, although its Citrus Berry heals it to 2/3 health. It then uses Quick Attack, and because of the Focus Energy, it crits us down to just 7 HP. Uh-oh. It was looking like we'd bring it into the red with another Rock Throw, and I don't want to activate a potion, so I used Ember instead to bring it to about 1/4, but no burn. I'm forced to switch into Quillen here, and thankfully his Quick Attack doesn't crit. It then out-prioritizes us with Quick Attack again, and crits this time, but we survive on 4 HP to take it out with Ember. Holy, that was close. From here, his Metapod and Kakuna can easily be taken down with Embers. Alright, that was way crazier than I thought it was going to be, given that we had a clear type advantage, but we made it through for our second badge. The challenge in Azalea Town is certainly not over yet though, as our rival stops us as we try to leave. Unlike our first battle, his starter actually knows a water move now, and not only that, but it has evolved into a Croconaw, so I'm terrified for this one. He leads with a Ghastly, and I send out Gary first. He hits us with Mean Look right away, and our Ember does a good amount on him, so we can take him out after the following turn when he just uses Spite. In comes Croconaw though, and this is where everything could easily go downhill. He immediately hits us with Water Gun to 1/3, and I hit him with Yawn. Sleep won't activate until the next turn though, so I'm forced to switch into Quillen, who gets hit to about 2/3 by Water Gun before he falls asleep. Now our move pools are terrible right now, and I know our only chance of outputting any damage is a neutral move like Quick Attack, but even that won't do much. I decide to start hitting him with Leer instead to lower his defense while he's asleep. After the third Leer, he wakes up, but just uses Scary Face, which doesn't affect us really due to Quick Attack's priority. We hit him once, and still do very little, but he goes for Scary Face again. Our second Quick Attack does a good amount, and he keeps going for Scary Face, and our Shell Bell is helping us recover health. Our next Quick Attack should do it, but it survives on what must be 1 HP. I can't even see the damn bar, and I'm like, oh no, his Torrent ability has been activated, and he indeed hits us with Water Gun. But thankfully, no crit, we survive on 10 HP and can out-prioritize him on the next turn. Damn, that was close. Torrent was what I was trying to avoid that whole time. His last Pokemon is Zubat, and with both our Pokemon at terribly low health, I'm scared, and he indeed outspeeds, but his Supersonic misses. Ember brings him to the red after a burn, and now we can just Quick Attack him anyway to take him down. Unreal. That was a tough early game battle, that's for sure. After catching the Farfetch'd in the Ilex Forest, we not only get the Cut HM, but if you return back to the Charcoal Master's house after all the shenanigans, you'll never guess it, we're also given a Charcoal item too, which is perfect for us as it boosts fire moves. Alright, is it just me, or is this incredibly creepy? In the middle of a dark forest, a girl in a kimono outfit starts talking about herself in the third person. Sheesh. Slugma's then like, "I'll take care of you, baby." And she's like, "Oh, damn, that slug is hot as sh*." Smooth, Gary. Smooth. With that, we arrive in Goldenrod City, and we have a problem. Both of our Pokemon are already at level 18, and the level cap for the next gym is 19, so we have to head straight for the gym after we explore the city. Alright, can we talk about this for a second? All the other name raiders in every other game, well, you might not even know they were name raiders. They're just a random person in a random building. But this guy, he's got his own damn tent in an urban landscape. Forget telling me what he thinks of Gary's name. He looks like he's gonna exorcise the demons out of me. With that, it's time for the infamous normal-type Goldenrod City Gym. Now, unfortunately, we can only skip one trainer in here, but we do make it past them all pretty well and end up at high level 19 on both Pokemon. Before the much-dreaded battle with Whitney, I decide to buy the Fire Blast TM and the Reflect TM to put on Quillen and Gary respectively, along with their Charcoal and Shell Bell items. It's time. Whitney leads with Clefairy, and our trusty Gary goes out first. She goes for Metronome right away, and it ends up being 55% accuracy Sing, which also connects. Are you kidding me? She then hits us with Double Slap a couple of times, but as planned, our Flame Body ability activates and lowers her attack. Nice. She's able to get us to right about half before we wake up, and our Shell Bell starts helping as we spam Ember, and Whitney eventually heals her as she brings us down to 17 HP, at which point I decide to use Reflect as I want it to last for when the Miltank comes out. We're then able to take her out with 13 HP remaining. In comes Miltank, and with such low health, this is terrifying. I know we have to switch into Quillen even with the Reflect up. She goes for Stomp on the switch, and it doesn't do too much at all now. Her second Stomp brings us to about 2/3, and with the Charcoal item, our Fire Blast does right about half, and then her next Stomp proceeds to flinch us, and our Reflect fades. She hits us with Stomp to just 14 HP, but thankfully Fire Blast gets a good enough roll to take her down. We played that pretty well, but it still got quite scary towards the end. Thank God for Reflect. Now, we have been struggling with not over-leveling for a while since we have so few Pokemon, but leaving Goldenrod finally opens some up for us. Our next encounter is actually opened up to us by the Pokewalker, where we can access the Rugged Road after acquiring 50 watts, where we can catch a level 7 Ponyta. We name ours Chariot, and it ends up having a docile nature, which is neutral, and I'm totally fine with that. North of Goldenrod, we can also sneak past the National Park to Route 36, where we can find another crucial encounter, Growlithe. Unfortunately, this is one where we can determine if we got the right ability right away just by entering battle, and it turns out not to have Intimidate. That could literally determine the fate of the run right there. That's how important Intimidate is, but we'll press on. We catch it and nickname it Milton, and it ends up having a lonely nature, plus attack and minus defense. Plus attack is great, so I'll definitely take that. We survive the long trek to Ecruteak City, one of my favorite cities in Pokemon, and after we rescue the Kimono Girl in the dance studio, this guy says, "I was supposed to be the hero. So much for getting close to a Kimono Girl." You know, I know the word for you, but I'm not gonna say it. In the Burn Tower, our rival actually prevents us from getting our next encounter since it's only available in the basement level, so we have to battle him first. His Ghastly uses Confuse Ray on us after it survives with 1 HP, then we can take it out with another Flame Wheel from Chariot. In comes Croconon. Since we're confused, I switch into Quillen, and after a while of spamming Leer while it used Scary Face, it seems it tends to match our non-attacking moves with its own. I actually allow it to hit us into the red so we can use a Blaze-boosted Flame Wheel, but it was a bigger risk than I thought as we're left with 5 HP, but now we can outspeed it with Quick Attack. Since we now have a couple more Pokemon on our team, the rest of his team is quite easily handled from here, especially since his new Magnemite is weak to fire. Now that we can access the basement level of the Burn Tower, we can find our 5th encounter, a Magmar. We catch one and nickname it Millennial, and Millennial ends up having a calm nature plus special defense and minus attack. Based on its early move pool, we might actually need that attack stat early on, but it's not bad otherwise since Magmar is mostly a special attacker. It's time for the Ghost-type Ecruteak City Gym, and Millennial is able to do a great job since he has the Dark-type Feint Attack move, and this is especially good since not only can we get XP for him, but all the Ghastlies and Haunters also give us special attack EVs. Now Morty is right up there with Whitney in terms of difficulty and cheap strats with Mean Look, Curse, Hypnosis, etc., so I'm nervous for this battle. Before the battle, I bought the Light Screen TM and actually swapped Reflect out for it since I know Gengar's Shadow Ball could absolutely destroy our entire team without it. Our trusty lead Gary is sent out first as Morty leads with Ghastly. It goes for Mean Look on the first turn to trap us, and I go for Yawn since I know this Ghastly can be trouble and I do want an opportunity to set up Light Screen. Ghastly then outspeeds and hits us with Lick and paralyzes us, and our Flame Body ability actually activates and burns it, which cancels out our Yawn. That was the absolute worst combination of things that could have happened. I now know that I need to go for Light Screen, and as I do, Morty uses a Hyper Potion on Ghastly. Oh man. He then uses Spite, and our next Ember combined with the Burn just barely doesn't take it out, meaning we wasted a turn of Light Screen, but we can take it out on the next. In comes Gengar as I expected, and with the light screen up, I'm feeling safe to stay in, but it still does huge damage regardless, but at least we got the yawn on him through paralysis. I'm forced to switch here, so I go into Millennial, who has the highest special defense on our team, and Shadow Ball only does about a quarter with light screen, and Gengar falls asleep as our light screen fades. My calcs tell me Feint Attack will do a bit less than half, but I know he has a Citrus Berry, and I don't want to bring him to the red after 2 turns and risk him using a potion, so I go for Leer instead and hope for the 2-hit KO. Thankfully, this plan does work out as the Gengar stays asleep and 2 Feint Attacks do the job even through his berry. That was a pretty safe strat. It was basically only if the Gengar woke up on the second turn that things could have gone south real quickly, and thankfully they didn't, although we had a mess of a time with Gary wasting light screen turns to start with. From there, his next Haunter is a 1-hit KO with Feint Attack, and his final Haunter got 1 hit on us, survived the Feint Attack, but then just took itself out with Curse, funnily enough. After reaching Olivine City, Jasmine is up with a sick Amphi and tells us she needs the medicine, and then just opens the door. What, are you just assuming that I'll do it? Alright, fine. But only because I like Ampharos so much. With some scary sea routes with tons of water types safely behind us, we reach Cianwood City, the location of our next gym battle. The trainers in the gym are manageable as fighting is a neutral type against us, and most of them don't really like special attacks all that much. Now before Chuck, I'm reminded of the weird level cap situation where Chuck's level cap is 31, Jasmine's is 35, but then Price's is 34, so we have to remain relatively lower than the actual cap. Realizing Chuck is going to be a terrifying threat with that Poliwrath, I decide to delay and go heal the Ampharos so we can take on Jasmine instead. Okay, I'll be honest, I have no idea how to beat Chuck, and Jasmine just seems like an easier ordeal right now. Jasmine starts off her battle with a Magnemite, and I lead with Quilava. Now I was thinking, you know what, super effective stab Flame Wheel with the charcoal will definitely kill, and that we can avoid possibly missing Fire Blast and getting paralyzed by Thunder Wave, but her Magnemite survives one in the red and uses Thunder Wave to paralyze us nonetheless. Yikes. Thankfully, she just uses a Hyper Potion, but then she preemptively switches into Steelix and we're paralyzed and can't move. She then uses Screech to lower our defense, but we break through and connect a Fire Blast to KO it immediately. Her Magnemite comes back out and hits us with Thunderbolt for big damage to 33 HP, and we make it through paralysis, but our Fire Blast misses. Exactly what I was fearing the first time around. I'm forced to switch here, so I go into Millennial, who tanks a Thunderbolt with 33 HP and is able to outspeed with a Fire Punch to take it out. Her second Magnemite suffers the same fate, as thankfully Magmar is slightly more powerful and faster than Quilava, and Fire Punch has more power than Flame Wheel. 5 badges. Now back to Chuck. We have nothing super effective against Poliwrath. Just nothing. The Psychic TM is only available in Kanto or via the Pokewalker through a course that only unlocks if you transfer Jirachi into your game. Bad chance we can get that done. Ponyta only learns Bounce at level 42, and we can't get the Sunny Day TM until later too to weaken its Surf. I'm starting to realize a major weakness on this team. We have no secondary types whatsoever, and our only one in the future will be Rock. We have absolutely no switch-ins for ground or water moves, and all of our Pokemon have terrible coverage too. In a desperate attempt to at least power up our team a bit, I head over to the Pokeathlon. Now this is one of those crazy things about Heart Gold and Soul Silver. Firestones are ridiculously hard to find. Only in the post-game can you get one by winning the bug-catching contest randomly with a chance to get the other stones instead. You can get one from Bill's grandfather, and with the Warm Beach Pokewalker course, which takes 5,000 steps and is only a 5% chance. In the main game, you can get one from School Kid Alan on Route 36 randomly if he calls you on the Pokegear, or from the Pokeathlon Dome on Tuesdays only. Thankfully, since I started this playthrough on a Monday, it's now Tuesday and I can spend some time here to get one. Oh, now why does this guy have to have a Poliwrath of all things? It's just taunting us at this point. After a ton of challenges and 8 total events, we get the 2,500 points required and use the Firestone to evolve Milton into a beastly Arcanine. With that, it's time to take on Chuck. Chuck leads with a Primeape, and I lead with our newly evolved Milton, whose defenses are probably the best on the team at the moment. Slugma would have been great with Light Screen for Surf later on, but Primeape would one-hit KO him easily. Now the problem here is Primeape has super effective Rock Slide on all of our Pokemon, but at least we outspeed, and I was hoping Firefang might at least get a flinch or something, and we actually get the burn on our first attack, and a flinch. What in the world? Honestly, I don't even think I knew that that was possible. I have never seen that. I knew the Fang moves of course had a chance to flinch and a chance for status, but I didn't know they could occur concurrently. Unreal. Chuck then Hyper Potions it, but we can take it down in 2 more. In comes the thing I'm most scared of, Poliwrath. Now, ironically enough, our best move on Arcanine against it is actually Fire Fang, especially with the flinch and the burn chances, so I go for it. It does effectively nothing, and Poliwrath slams us with a Surf down to 43 HP. I literally have nothing else that I can do besides hope for the flinch from here, but we don't get it. But his Poliwrath goes for Hypnosis and misses. Realizing the AI sometimes makes weird decisions when we're at low health, I go for Fire Fang again, but nothing happens again, and its Citrus Berry activates, but it goes for Hypnosis and lands this time. Not wanting to just straight up sack Milton, I switch into Millennial, and Poliwrath actually went for Focus Punch here, and Millennial gets slammed all the way to 12 HP, but our Flame Body ability activates and burns him. Now that his attack is lowered, we can hope that he goes for it again since Millennial is also at low health, and he does, and we switched into Gary. His attack is lowered, but Gary still gets brought to just 20 HP. Honestly, in a way I was kind of thinking about sacking Gary there if we had to so we could come in and get big damage off on Poliwrath with an outspeed, but he actually survived. I'm stuck here now, so I try a desperate bid to get a light screen off, and our Quick Claw activates to make it possible, then Poliwrath hits a Hypnosis. Man, oh man. With light screen up, I switch into Chariot, but Poliwrath went for Focus Punch instead to take us below half. We'll probably outspeed though, but Chuck uses the Hydro Potion to save him. Now my calcs tell me it's a range we might survive a Surf with the light screen up, so I go for Stomp, and he went for Focus Punch, so Stomp disturbs his focus and cancels it out. Now I thought we could KO from here, but Stomp just barely doesn't kill, but gets the flinch, and Poliwrath goes down to the burn. What in the world even just happened? He wasn't going for Focus Punch on that last turn, but it could have been Hypnosis since he tends not to use Surf at low health ranges for some reason, but who knows. Our team got absolutely smashed in that battle, but somehow we made it through with no deaths, which I was not expecting at all. In fact, I even played as though we were going to sack Pokemon too, but wow, 6 badges down. Now that Bill has returned to Goldenrod City, we can go talk to him and receive a gift, which is actually going to be our 6th and final possible encounter, an Eevee. I named the Eevee Kindle, and it has a naive nature, plus speed and minus special defense. Plus speed on a future Flareon is great, so I'll take it. Because it's a normal type, we're not allowed to send it into battle yet, and we haven't yet acquired another Firestone, but we'll be able to resolve its low level shortly at least. After punching a shiny Gyarados in the mouth, we can pick up the choice specs from above the Lake of Rage, and we also encounter Raikou on the way back. Encountering legendaries randomly always scares the hell out of me. Since we picked up the red scale, we can return it to Mr. Pokemon in exchange for the experience share, which will help us to not overlevel for our next gym, and can be put on Eevee to start getting it some levels. After working with Lance to take on Team Rocket at their Mahogany Town base and mercilessly mass slaughtering Electrodes, it's time for the Mahogany Gym. Now, as an Ice-type gym, one would imagine this wouldn't be too much of a challenge against a Fire team, but there are several Water and Ice Pokemon in here like Cloyster and Dugong, which can be a bit troublesome. Now, Price's team is quite interesting because even though he's the Ice Gym leader, all 3 of his Pokemon have a super effective type against us. He leads with a Seal, and I send in Milton first. I go for Bite for some neutral damage, which does less than half, then Seal goes for Hail, which, since it's not an Ice type, also hurts it. However, our next Bite barely doesn't kill, and it uses Rest to heal. It stays asleep over the next 2 turns though, which gives us an opportunity to take it down now that it gets hit by its own Hail. Thanks, Bryce. In comes Piloswine next, which is actually a bit of a threat for us with its ground and ice typing. I go for super effective Stab Fire Fang, and it misses, and he hits us with Mud Bomb all the way to 19 HP. That was a really unfortunate miss. We could have gotten massive damage off, along with possibly a flinch and or burn. I switch into Quillen here, and he just used Ice Fang thankfully, but then our Fire Blast misses. Ugh. The Fire Fang miss I can maybe understand since he does have the Snow Cloak ability and the Hail, but the Hail stopped for that Fire Blast. He then reactivates the Hail, and I'm like, well, guess I have to go for Flame Wheel now, and it does less than half before he hits us with Mud Bomb to the red, and to just 12 HP after the Hail damage. I'm forced to switch here, so I go into Chariot, and now his Piloswine misses its Mud Bomb. Serves you right. From here, Flame Wheel brings him super low in the red, and his Citrus Berry activates, after which he hits us with a Mud Bomb to less than a quarter after Hail, but thankfully our next Flame Wheel hits and takes him out. In comes his final Pokemon, Dugong, and amazingly this thing actually doesn't have a water move, so I can switch in Millennial relatively safely. Now if I'm honest, I don't even want to narrate what happened here. Basically, over 5 minutes elapsed with just Millennial fighting this thing because we resist its moves, but it has Rest and Sleep Talk, so a combination of Confuse Ray and weak attacks chipped it down slowly until it would just rest, and Millennial eventually got too low on HP, so I was forced to switch into Gary. I tried going for Ancient Power 5 times, but never got the stat boost, so I put up the light screen on the rest turn and switched into Chariot so I could take it down with Stomp after being brought to just 13 HP. The Dugong alone took about 10 minutes, which is crazy. Who'd have thought an Ice-type gym would be so difficult for us? After obtaining our 7th badge, it's time to stop the invasion of the radio tower, and bam! Man, how badass do we look in a rocket uniform with an Arcanine beside us? Alright, I'm performing an undercover operation against this criminal invasion of one of the most important buildings in the country, and this is the scariest thing I've seen here. Ugh. We make our way to the director and learn that he is in fact not the director, and we have to battle Petrol. Now Petrol's team is just disgusting. 5 Coughings with Self-Destruct and a Wheezing with Explosion. This is a massively risky battle, so I decide to just run in there with Quilava with the choice specs on so I can Fire Blast, one-hit KO all of them. The first one goes down successfully, and then he sends out Wheezing, and we miss our second Fire Blast. Are you kidding me? Then the Wheezing uses Smokescreen to lower our accuracy, but I can't do anything else, and we repeatedly miss Fire Blast until we're brought to just 2 HP with a crit. Holy sh**. I have to switch here, so I go into Milton, and a few Fire Fangs do the job. The next Coughing gets hit hard by Fire Fang, but poisons us with Sludge and brings us too low, so I have to switch into Millennial, who gets poisoned by Sludge immediately before we can take him down. Millennial's then able to take one more down with just 18 HP remaining, so I go into Gary here for the Ancient Power, which does over half, but his next Sludge gets a high roll, and we survive on just 1 singular HP. Now last time we only moved first because of the Quick Claw, so here I have to switch again, this time into Chariot, and he misses his tackle so we can hit him with Flame Wheel, but he just barely survived with a Sliver and goes for Self-Destruct, which immediately one-hit KOs him. I have no words. From here, I have to go into Quillen's Fire Blast for the one-hit KO since everything else is either dead or seriously hurt, and we land it to finish him off. Man, that Chariot loss was so incredibly unfortunate. Our first death is on the board. Seriously, who in the world programmed Petrol's team? I just want to talk. Our next battle with Silver goes off relatively smoothly since we now have Light Screen on Slugma, which helps with Feraligator's Water Gun, and super effective moves against every other one of his Pokemon too. After defeating Archer, who was quite manageable since he mainly has fellow fire types, we made it through the Ice Cave, which is one of my favorite places in the franchise, and we arrive in Blackthorn City. Here we can finally hit up the Move Tutor where we can exchange a Heart Scale to teach Arcanine Thunderfang. While grinding up for the next gym, which has a bit of a level bump, Gary the Slugma ends up evolving into a Magcargo, Quillen the Quilava ends up evolving into Typhlosion, and we also got a second Firestone from Alan during our Ice Path excursion, so we can finally evolve our Eevee into a Flareon. Arcanine also learned Extreme Speed, and we finally got some decent fire moves as Magmar, Typhlosion, and Magcargo all learned Lava Plume, which is a special 80 base power move with a chance to burn. It's time for the 8th and final gym, the Dragon-type Blackthorn Gym. Claire is a massive threat, especially with Kingdra, which not only has super effective Hydro Pump against our entire team, but also 4 times resists our stab moves. Yikes. You couldn't really think of a bigger threat. I also checked our hidden powers just in case, and it turns out the only useful one was Magcargo's, which is Dragon, but Magcargo just so happens to be our one Pokemon who is 4 times weak to water, so it's not viable. Great. While spending literally an hour strategizing for this battle and playing out possible scenarios in my head, I remembered something. We forgot to get the Sunny Day TM from the radio tower, which is available only after Team Rocket is oosted. I get it and also pick up the Solar Beam TM from the department store and teach both to Quillen. With that, it's time. Let's try our best, I suppose. Now, my plan for this battle is quite complex, and it all depends if Claire sends out her Dragonair with Aquatail or her Kingdra first. But from what I've seen observing gameplay online, it seems she'll send out her Kingdra beforehand usually. She leads with Gyarados, and this is gonna look really weird, but I lead with Magcargo. Now, if there's any saving grace here, it's that her Gyarados actually doesn't have any water moves. The most it can do to us is Dragon Rage for a guaranteed 40 HP. I go for Yawn on the first turn after getting hit by a Dragon Rage. Now here, after getting hit by another down to 18 HP, I decide to hit it with Ancient Power with the Hard Stone attached to Gary, and it's going to be a range for what I have planned, but this is the best I can do, and it does about 2/3. Now that Gyarados is asleep, I can use the light screen to help with Surf if Kingdra comes in. I switch into Quillen here, and I need to get Sunny Day up as soon as possible. I just need this Gyarados to not wake up, but it does. On the second turn. This destroys my entire plan. Nonetheless, I go for Solar Beam, and the calcs did work as it goes down. After Quillen levels up and learns Flamethrower, she indeed does send out Kingdra at least. I go for Solar Beam right away, which does less than half, then she uses Hydro Pump, which doesn't do a whole lot since we now have Light Screen and Sunny Day working against it. But our Light Screen goes down. Now, if Gyarados hadn't waken up on that one turn, we would still be absolutely fine after another Hydro Pump due to the sun, but now it's a range whether or not it kills, and I don't have any other choice. I go for Solar Beam to the red, and her Citrus Berry activates, then she goes for Hydro Pump, but it misses. Oh my god. Hydro Pump's low accuracy may have just saved Quillen, as we can take it down with another Solar Beam. In comes Dragonair, and it paralyzes us with Thunder Wave, then outspeeds on the next turn to hit us with Dragon Pulse to 18 HP, and we stay paralyzed and can't hit it. I have to switch into Millennial here, and Aqua Tail does about a quarter since we're still in the sun. I hit it with Sun Boosted Flamethrower to about half, then it Thunder Waves us. Dragon Pulse then brings us to about a third, but we break through and KO it with another attack. Her final Pokemon is another Dragonair, and I switch in Milton here, who gets hit by Dragon Pulse. I go for Extreme Speed, which does more than half, and then she paralyzes Milton as well. Since it has priority Extreme Speed, I can still move before her even though we're paralyzed, so long as we break through, and we do, and we can take it down. Incredible. Honestly, I've got to say our plan was quite solid. If the Gyarados had stayed asleep just one more turn, that is. But that Hydro Pump miss was crucial and definitely saved Typhlosion. 8 badges down. Well, after dealing with Claire's temper tantrum, that is. The Elder tells her to reflect more upon what it is we have that she doesn't, and then she just storms off. She reflected real well, didn't she, Elder? In the Bell Tower, we encounter Ho-Oh, and damn am I ever tempted to use this thing. I mean, it is a fire type after all. I decide to catch it for a particular reason after Gary nearly kills the damn thing. He's OP as hell, since it is a fire type but just cannot be used in battle. After trekking through Victory Row, we smash our rival one last time, and again, Sunny Day with Solar Beam was crucial for beating his Feraligatr, and the entire rest of his team is weak to the moves that we have, thank goodness. With that, we arrive at the Elite Four, and after crazy preparation, grinding our Pokemon, fulfilling the rest of our EVs, and getting items like a second Charcoal by bringing Ho-Oh to the Ruins of Elf, it's time to do this. The first Elite Four member is Will, the Psychic-type trainer. Now on the face of it, Arcanine is looking like our best bet here against his team, so I lead with him against Will's Xatu. Problem is, I'm forced to go with Bite instead of Thunderfang since his Xatu has Synchronize, which could paralyze us right off the bat, which would not be good. But thankfully we got the black glasses from Dark Cave to help us out with extra power. Unfortunately, Bite just barely doesn't KO, and Xatu hits us for about a third with Psychic, but we can take it down with a couple more attacks after he full restores. Will sends out Slowbro next, which is a scary threat on the face of it, but after we hit it with Bite to below half, it just goes for Curse, and then our next one is barely able to take it down. With Water Pulse, that could have been scary, but we pulled through. His Jinx gets outsped and is a one-hit with Fire Fang. His Executor actually tanks a Fire Fang with a Sliver and uses Reflect just before we can take him down with another, and his second Xatu now tanks a Bite with about half. Its Citrus Berry heals it, but it flinched so we can hit it with another before getting hit by Psychic down to 46 HP, and then he full restores and our next Bite does less than half. However, his Reflect goes down, and I know we outspeed, so one more attack does the trick. Milton was a great choice against him with varying super effective moves against all of his Pokemon. Next up is Koga, the Poison-type Elite Four member. For this battle, I decide to attach the choice specs to Millennial and use Flamethrower, which one-hit KOs his Ariados and Forretress instantly due to their weakness to it. His Muk survives one but just goes for Minimize and a full restore so we can take it out in 2 more. His Crobat hits us with Wing Attack and gets a crit to bring us to 40 HP. He burns himself off of our Flame Body ability though, then Flamethrower brings him to just a Sliver, which one would be led to think would cause him to get KO'd due to his burn, but his Citrus Berry saves him. I'm forced to switch here since he outspeeds, so I go into Gary, who resists the Wing Attack, and he misses his Ancient Power due to Double Team, but Crobat goes down to the burn anyway. Venomoth is Koga's last Pokemon, and Gary is a great choice for this, but Supersonic confuses us and causes us to hit ourselves in confusion, and then we get hit by a Psychic, which also gets the special defense drop, but we break through and KO him with Lava Plume. A little more hectic than I thought it might be since he has so many fire weaknesses, but we managed. Next up is Bruno, the fighting type Elite Four member. Now Bruno's team is kind of complicated for us, as not only does he throw in an Onix with Earthquake in there, but some of his Pokemon actually have pretty high special defense, and my calcs tell me they'll even live a Choice Specs or Sunny Day Flamethrower from Typhlosion. After a lot of thinking, my best strat still seems to be to use Quillen, so I send him out against Hitmontop and decide I need to set up Sunny Day first since we need it for Onix, followed by a Fire Blast, which is the only thing that'll KO from full, and we do land it. The main problem is if we miss one of these, things could get messy, but we'll survive any attack from him, so we just can't miss twice is all. His Onix comes in next, and thanks to Sunny Day, we can just Solar Beam him to death. Machamp comes out next, and thankfully Fire Blast hits and takes him out immediately. The same goes for his Hitmonlee, and his Hitmonchan goes down in 2 Flamethrowers. Quillen is a beast. The final Elite Four member is Karen, the Dark-type specialist. For her battle, I decide to give Millennial and Kindle Charcoals and Quillen the Choice Specs. Karen sends out Umbreon first, and I lead with Millennial. Now this Umbreon has Confuse Ray, Double Team, and Synchronize, so I know it can be a pain and decide to go for our own Confuse Ray right away. He breaks through though and hits us with Feint Attack on the first turn, then we hit him with Flamethrower and amazingly get a crit, and I thought we killed it, but it lived on like 0 HP, but then hit itself in confusion nonetheless. In comes Murkrow and I go for Flamethrower, which is actually a one-hit KO. A solid start here. Houndoom is next and I go for Confuse Ray immediately, but it gets a nasty plot off nonetheless. Not good. From here, the website I was referencing actually said that she had Early Bird on the Houndoom, not Flash Fire, so I went for Flamethrower and it did nothing and boosted his fire moves after a nasty plot already. Oh god, why? Thankfully, she just hits herself in confusion, but still a wasted turn that we could have gotten a safe switch on. I switch into Milton and she goes for Dark Pulse, which does massive damage after the boost. Oh no. I know that anything else would just get KO'd instantly since Milton is our bulkiest Pokemon, so I go for Silk Scarf boosted extreme speed in the hope that she just hits herself in confusion, and it didn't even matter since we got a crit anyway. Crisis averted. After leveling up, Millennial learns Sunny Day and Karen sends out her Gengar next. I'm forced to switch here, so I switch into Kindle, who has some bulk and serious physical power too. Gengar went for Focus Blast on the switch, which missed, and then it went for Spite on the next turn so we can hit it hard with Fire Fang to a quarter. I'm feeling great here, so I go for another, but the stupid thing uses Destiny Bond and takes Kindle down along with it. Son of a... I hate Destiny Bond so much. Fuming with anger, I send out Quillen to take out her Vileplume with the Choice Specs super effective Stab Fire Blast. Damn, man. Losing a Pokemon before Lance is not good. Lance is probably the biggest threat I can imagine for this team, right up there with Claire's Kingdra. Every single one of his Pokemon resists the Fire type. Every one. With 4 Pokemon left, I thought a lot about potential strategies, but I was feeling very similar to a run that we had lost before, which I won't spoil if you haven't seen it. I teach Milton Dragon Pulse and put the Dragon Fang on him, use the last of our rare candies to get our Pokemon to level 50, and with a ridiculous strategy in place, but the only one I can think can get us past maybe a few Pokemon on his team, it's time. He leads with a Gyarados with Waterfall, our worst nightmare, so I send in Millennial and go for Sunny Day immediately now that he has it. Gyarados hits us hard with Waterfall to below half regardless, and I switch into Quillen afterwards, who also gets hit by one for about a third. Now with the Choice Specs and the Sun, I know Fire Blast can do massive damage on his team regardless of types, and it does, but then Gyarados hits us with Waterfall again. Upon retrospect, I really should have just sacrificed Millennial by using Confuse Ray, so we might have been able to get one less hit on Quillen, that way he could survive what's coming next, Aerodactyl, which of course outspeeds us and takes us out with Rock Slide immediately. But at least we took care of the Gyarados, I suppose. I switch into Milton and he actually avoids the Rock Slide, but then Aerodactyl avoids our Thunder Fang. Alrighty then. He then misses his second Rock Slide, but we hit our second Thunder Fang to bring him into the red, but no paralysis. However, Lance full restores him so we can hit him into the red again and get the paralysis this time, which means we can KO him on the next. Phew. Lance sends out his strongest Dragonite next, and it's time for our Dragon Pulse, which does less than half. He then goes for Safeguard, which isn't terrible for us, and here I go for Extreme Speed to avoid triggering the full restore, but we get a crit, bringing him into the red and activating his Citrus Berry. Then he goes for Hyper Beam on us to bring us below half. One more Dragon Pulse is able to outspeed and do the job though. Another Dragonite comes in and I hit it with Dragon Pulse for a bit more than half since it's a lower level, then he hits us with Dragon Rush, which also gets a crit and takes Milton down. Ouch. I send in Millennial next, and all we've got is Resisted Flamethrower, which brings him into the red. Then he somehow hits a Thunder with 70% accuracy and paralyzes us. This is ridiculous. He then uses a full restore, but we hit another Flamethrower for a bit less than a quarter, but then he takes us out with another Thunder. How is he hitting these? Our last Pokemon and last hope is Gary against 2 Dragonites and a Charizard. I go for Ancient Power, which is super effective, and stab with the Hard Stone, and it just barely doesn't KO, but we get the stat boost. The Dragonite then misses its 75% accuracy Dragon Rush, and we can KO it. There is no way. No, I won't accept this. His next Dragonite also misses its Dragon Rush, and Ancient Power is an immediate one. Oh wait, no way. It survives on like nothing, but Lance uses a full restore, and then our next one gets a higher roll to take him down. Charizard comes in, and I am absolutely shitting my pants. He goes for Air Slash and flinches us, then hits us with another, but we land a 4x super effective stab, Hard Stone boosted, stat boosted Ancient Power to obliterate him. There is no damn way in the world. I think this might have been the battle I had the least hope about out of any challenge we've done. Like, you can just see I kind of just threw things out there, but the funny thing is, even if the Dragon Rush had hit Magcargo, he has great defense and had the stat boost, so he would have survived. Wow. I'm gonna say we probably deserved to lose that one, although granted we did fail to get an Arcanine with Intimidate, which would have been very helpful, and we had a minus special attack Typhlosion. The fire type is very hard to operate with, especially since our whole team has common weaknesses like water, ground, and rock, so there's no switching potential. They all evolve super late too, and learn great moves super late, and there are very few of them in HeartGold and Soul Silver. But we did it. We beat a HeartGold Hardcore Nuzlocke with only fire types. If you enjoyed the run, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button, as it really does help a lot and grows our community. A huge thanks to my YouTube members and patrons who make these videos possible. If you'd like to support and get your name up here, the links are also down below. If you enjoyed, drop a like down below to help the video out, and leave a comment letting me know what kind of run we should do next, and I'll see you guys for our next challenge video.